Chapter 51. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The Sun family wasn't looking for trouble, but Tian still kept his guard up. He'd also been gathering intel on the Sun family and had to admit, they were a force to be reckoned with, but to Tian, the Sun family was more like an experience pack just waiting to be opened. That's right, an XP farm. It turned out a surprising number of Sun family martial artists had a knack for swordsmanship. Tian already knew his parents shared a special talent, and their descendants had a chance to inherit it. He just never expected the Sun family would be so crazy as to marry within the family so often. My cultivation talent is already maxed out. Copying more advanced stuff would be pointless. I'm better off snagging the Sun family's sword talent. Maybe I can evolve my own and level it up. Tian decided. About 3 weeks later, Tian spotted his chance and secretly copied Sun Feng's medium sword talent while he was wandering around. Unfortunately, this time, the replication fusion didn't boost Tian's sword talent. A month later, Tian found another young son, barely 15, with a medium sword talent. The kid hadn't even started training yet, but his talent was ripe for the taking. After successfully copying it, Tian finally saw his own sword talent upgrade. Sword talent, advanced. Tian was pumped. This high-level talent would definitely allow him to master his bronze-level sword skills. Once those skills hit the max level, his combat power would skyrocket. But to master them, he needed to grasp sword intent. Before, his limited talent had held him back. He'd been stuck in the realm of sword perfection, unable to catch even a glimpse of sword intent, but now, with his upgraded talent, he knew he could do it. Time to get enlightened. Tian grabbed his blade, sat down, and focused all his energy on understanding the knife. Buzz. In his mind, the blade seemed to come alive, pulling him into a whole new world. This was the world of knives. Time slipped away. Eventually, Tian had a breakthrough. His understanding of the sword instantly deepened. Suddenly, a spark of sword intent flickered to life within him. Sword intent was the will of the blade itself, the essence of the knife pushed to its absolute limit. It emerged from a deep understanding of the art. Tian had finally taken the first step. He'd grasped a sliver of sword intent, faint as it was. He was finally in the realm of sword intent. For the next few days, Tian poured all his energy into comprehending the sword intent, putting his other training on hold. He'd already maxed out his elite martial artist stats. His physical strength was insane, but he didn't want to rush into becoming a great martial artist just yet. Even though his physical strength had reached its peak, his body's tempering wasn't complete. Tian wanted to refine his skin, muscles, bones, and blood again to build a more solid foundation. He was convinced it would pay off in the long run. Otherwise, chasing pure strength would leave him with a shaky base. 5 days passed. Tian wrapped up his sword intent training. A little bit of sword intent is a start, he said, exhaling slowly. The realm of sword intent was divided into stages: entry, a spark, a sliver, a small intent, a large intent, and finally, complete intent. But getting there was tough, even with a high-level talent. Rapid improvement was unrealistic. Tian could already feel the pace slowing after that first spark. For now, pushing for full comprehension wasn't worth it. A little intent was enough. Time to work on my bronze-level skills, Shadow Kill and Qingfeng Slash. He'd already mastered both of them, reaching the peak of perfection. He was just one step away from completing them. Now, with his sword intent in place, that final step was within reach. It only took a day for Shadow Kill to hit consummation. Then, in half that time, Qingfeng Slash followed suit. Now, Tian had 2 fully mastered bronze-level sword skills. He decided to take stock of his combat abilities. My physical strength is at 100,000 gene. With a strength boost, I can hit 1 million gene, the strength of a great martial artist. Add Qingfeng Slash's 6-fold attack power boost, and that's 6 million gene. That's Grandmaster level attack power, stronger than most. Plus, my speed is 12 times the speed of sound, faster than any great martial artist, and on par with a Grandmaster. Tian figured his defense was the only area where he lagged behind, but even with his weaker defense, he had a top-tier healing talent. He could recover quickly from almost any injury. I could hold my own against a real grandmaster. Tian was brimming with confidence. Of course, he was still on the lookout for a defensive talent to shore up that weakness. By my calculations, I'll have refined my entire body in another month. Then I can level up to great martial artist with a clear conscience. Tian wondered how much his combat power would explode when he reached that stage. He suspected even some grandmasters wouldn't be able to withstand a single blow. Meanwhile, at the Sun family estate, the Sun family's business was booming. They'd bought up shops and established a steady resource supply line. They were finally putting down roots in Linhai. Sun Feng couldn't wait any longer. He tracked down his father, Sun Qinghe. "Father, isn't it time to deal with Yi Tian?" Sun Feng asked impatiently. 3 days from now, I'll personally take care of Yi Tian, Sun Qinghe promised. "Thank you, father," Sun Feng grinned, already picturing Yi Tian's downfall. He couldn't help but laugh. Chapter 52. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Sun Feng knew his father was strong. Even though his dad was only in the early stages of a great martial artist, and his physical strength topped out at 150,000 caddies, he was also a medium-level sword talent. He'd mastered 2 bronze-level sword skills, reaching the peak of proficiency. Plus, he had an intermediate yuan weapon. All that combined boosted his strength fourfold, so, his father was basically a great martial artist with the strength of 600,000 caddies, and with the help of Yuanli, he could unleash attacks with 1.2 million caddies of force. In comparison, Sun Feng could only manage 300,000 caddies of attack power, putting him way behind his father. But the biggest difference between elite warriors and great warriors wasn't just strength, it was also speed and defense. Great warriors were much faster and more resilient. That's why the gap in power was so significant. If his father wanted him dead, one move would be enough to do it. Ha! So what if Yi Tian's fast? He doesn't have the power to back it up. He might be faster than I can see, but a great martial artist can still track him easily. With dad's strength, he'll take him out in seconds. Sun Feng was confident. He just waited for Yi Tian to die. 3 days passed. One morning, Sun Qinghe marched out of his house, heading straight for Yi Tian's place. He didn't bother to hide his intentions. Killing Yi Tian was something that couldn't be concealed. He figured he might as well do it openly, sending a message to anyone who might think about challenging the Sun family at the Central Garden Complex. Boom, star. A great warrior's aura exploded, sending shivers down the spines of the residents. It was arrogance to the max, a total disregard for the base's rules. A great warrior. Yi Tian opened his eyes, looking toward the disturbance. He knew this great warrior was coming for him. The aura was laced with powerful sword intent, marking him as a great martial artist with a talent for swordsmanship. The Sun family, Yi Tian muttered. He'd thought they'd given up on him, but it turned out they were just slow to retaliate. Sun family, looks like you've got a death wish. Anger flashed in Yi Tian's eyes, followed by a surge of killing intent. Yi was at school, so he was the only one home. He didn't have to worry about involving him. The great warrior was fast. 1 second he was outside the complex, the next he was at Yi Tian's villa. Using his spiritual power, Sun Qinghe pinpointed Yi Tian. Of course, Yi Tian sensed Sun Qinghe just as easily. Sun Feng's father, Sun Qinghe. Yi Tian wasn't surprised. His abilities had made it clear that elite warriors couldn't handle him. Sending a great warrior was the logical next step. As he sized up Sun Qinghe, Yi Tian activated his copying talent, immediately scanning his stats. Human, Sun Qinghe, cultivation talent, medium, sword talent, medium. From a talent perspective, Sun Qinghe was pretty average. Medium cultivation talent meant he'd reached his limit by becoming a great martial artist. But his medium sword talent meant he'd likely mastered bronze-level skills like Qin Feng Slash, making him a formidable opponent for most great martial artists. Decent strength, but too bad you're about to die, Yi Tian said grimly. Yi Tian, you're done. Sun Qinghe didn't waste time. He swung his blade at the villa, a cyan streak cut through the air, tearing apart the villa's outer wall as it hurtled toward Yi Tian. You dare mess with my house. Yi Tian was livid. He intercepted Sun Qinghe's attack with his own blade, then moved so fast Sun Qinghe couldn't even react. Sun Qinghe's speed was only about 1 or 2 times the speed of sound, which was nothing compared to Yi Tian's 12 times. There was no way he could follow Yi Tian's movements. Crap! Sun Qinghe's face paled. He'd underestimated Yi Tian. His speed was unreal. Even the top great martial artists in his clan weren't that fast. Knife curtain. Sun Qinghe spun his blade, creating layers of sword energy that formed a protective barrier, another bronze-level sword skill, this time a defensive one, adding an extra layer of protection. He'd gotten lucky and found this defensive skill. It was precious, enough to block attacks from mid to late stage great martial artists. Broken. Yi Tian slashed, secretly activating his high-level strength talent. The resulting attack was like a full-power blow from a grandmaster, shattering Sun Qinghe's knife curtain instantly. But then, Yi Tian's own blade broke. Not because the knife curtain was too strong, but because his weapon was trash. It was just a low-level yuan weapon, barely above average. It couldn't handle grandmaster-level power, so it shattered. Even with the broken blade, the attack didn't lose much force. The broken pieces kept flying forward, piercing Sun Qinghe's body, leaving behind a mess of cuts. Grandmaster. Sun Qinghe stared at Yi Tian in disbelief. The word grandmaster escaped his lips, and a wave of regret washed over him. If he'd known Yi Tian was that strong, he never would have come for revenge, not even for his son. But now it was too late. By offending Yi Tian, the Sun family was doomed, and he was the one to blame. His consciousness faded, and his body slumped to the ground. This knife is garbage. Yi Tian looked at the broken hilt, sighing. Then, his eyes landed on Sun Qinghe's blade. It was undamaged, not even a scratch. Yi Tian picked it up, flicking it lightly. The metallic sound echoed, music to his ears. Nice. This has got to be an intermediate yuan weapon. Yi Tian guessed. He patted down Sun Qinghe's corpse, finding a secret manual, the knife curtain technique. The book had gotten lucky and avoided the blade fragments, remaining intact. Yi Tian knew this was the defensive bronze-level skill Sun Qinghe had just used, making it incredibly valuable. Looking at Sun Qinghe's body, he couldn't help but think, his son was a walking money bag, giving away bronze-level sword skills and advanced cultivation talents. To thank the Sun family for their contributions, Yi Tian had 2 words for them: good people. Chapter 53. You are listening at Novelfull.audio. Sun Qinghe's death didn't end the matter. The Sun family dared to attack me in broad daylight. Looks like the Lin family's influence is fading fast. Yi Tian sighed. The Lin family used to have a rule: fighters in the Linhai base couldn't fight amongst themselves or kill indiscriminately, but the Sun family's actions completely ignored that. Exactly. The Sun family's way stronger than the Lin's now, and they're dug in here. They don't give a damn about the Lin family's rules. Well, if they're not playing by the rules, neither am I. Yi Tian gripped his intermediate yuan weapon, his killing intent palpable. With his current power, the Sun family was nothing. Even if those 2 grandmasters from Iron Tooth Base showed up, he wouldn't sweat it. He figured those 2 weren't that tough, probably just early-stage grandmasters. He wasn't sure if they had any special skills, but special talent was rare. If they didn't, he doubted they could even land a scratch on him with a sword. He was practically untouchable around here. What did he have to fear? Let's stir things up. Yi Tian muttered, gazing into the distance. 10 minutes later, at the entrance to the Sun family's residential compound, Yi Tian arrived alone. His intense killing intent made the guards break out in a cold sweat. Stop. This is Sun family property. Get out of here. One guard yelled, trying to hide his fear. The Sun family's finished. Yi Tian's voice dripped with menace, unnerving the guards. Go get help. One shouted, too late. A flash of sword light engulfed them. When it faded, the guards were down, and the Sun family gate was reduced to splinters. The Sun compound wasn't huge, so the attack was immediately obvious. Sun family guards rushed to the scene as fast as they could. They were trained from childhood, each a skilled fighter. Their captain was an elite warrior, and the whole force numbered about 100, a vital asset to the Sun family. Boom! 100 guards, armed with Yuan energy swords, formed a battle formation, their combined power almost rivaling that of great warriors, but then a blue sword slash ripped through them, bisecting the formation. The same slash continued on, practically cutting the Sun family compound in half. Houses crumbled, and the ground cracked. This was a Grandmaster's strike. Most of the Sun family guards were killed or wounded by Yi Tian's attack. The survivors, demoralized, retreated in terror. Then the Sun family leaders began to appear, their faces grim. Grandmaster attack. Sun Kong, the Great Elder, a peak-level great warrior, said nervously, only a Grandmaster could cause such destruction. Yi Tian clearly wasn't one, but even so, he was packing a Grandmaster-level punch. The Sun family had no Grandmasters. Sun Kong himself could pull off a Grandmaster-level attack, thanks to his decent sword talent and mastery of several bronze-level sword techniques, which amplified his attack power. His strikes were even stronger than those of some freshly minted Grandmasters, but his overall power was weaker. He couldn't actually beat a Grandmaster. They were too fast for him. There's a massive gulf between great warriors and Grandmasters. Defense and speed both get a huge boost against a real Grandmaster. He'd only last a few moves. However, Sun Kong was relieved this guy wasn't a Grandmaster. For someone so young to have a Grandmaster-level attack, he's a true genius. Sun Kong thought. Then Sun Feng shouted, "It's Yi Tian!" A collective gasp went through the crowd. The Sun family knew the name Yi Tian. He was the one who'd made them lose face. They'd been waiting to deal with him, but needed to solidify their position in the Linhai base first. They hadn't realized Yi Tian was so strong. "Yi Tian, that weapon in your hand belongs to my father. What did you do to him?" Sun Feng cried, staring in horror at the intermediate Yuan force knife. "Sun Qinghe. Dead, naturally." Yi Tian said calmly. "Young man, are you here to destroy my Sun family?" Sun Kong asked, stepping forward to face Yi Tian. "What do you think? When your Sun family sent assassins after me, you sealed your fate." Yi Tian said coldly. "Look, if we'd known you were this powerful, the Sun family never would have moved against you. Can't we just call it even? Great Elder, he killed my father. Kill him now." Sun Feng screamed like a madman. "Shut up." Sun Kong snapped. "If it wasn't for the mess you made, the Sun family wouldn't be in this situation." Actually, Sun Kong didn't want to make peace. He just didn't want to fight with Yi Tian right there. Martial artist with a Grandmaster-level attack wasn't easy to handle, and the collateral damage would be huge. It would affect everyone. Even if they managed to kill Yi Tian, the Sun family would be crippled. He planned to offer a truce, let Yi Tian leave, then ambush him later. Too bad his plan was doomed. "Make peace." "Sorry, I'm not interested." "Here's your chance, come at me." Yi Tian was practically vibrating with excitement. He really wanted to see how strong he'd become. Before, it had just been guesswork, and Sun Qinghe was too weak to be a challenge. He wanted to know if the Sun family could give him a real fight. That's why he'd been stalling, waiting for all their best fighters to gather, and now, after all the talk, almost every elite warrior of the Sun family was here. "Everyone below great warrior level, get out of here." Sun Kong shouted, *whoosh. Swoop. SSSS, *.2 peak level great warriors, 7 other great warriors, 9 in total, surrounding Yi Tian. The battle was about to begin. Yi Tian scanned them, quickly assessing their talents. The best they had was a high-level cultivation talent, which was about what he expected. If they had anyone with top-level cultivation, they'd already have a Grandmaster. Besides cultivation, 5 of the 9 were skilled with swords, and 2 of them had sword talents, both medium. "He's strong, let's take him down together," Sun Kong urged. Chapter 54. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The lion goes all out against the rabbit, and Sun Kong and the other martial arts masters weren't about to underestimate Tian either, so they came at him full force, but before Sun Kong and the others could even launch their attack, Tian struck first. Speed boost. Strength boost. Shadow kill. He unleashed 3 talents in quick succession. It wasn't his full power, but it was nothing to sneeze at. The thing was, Tian's speed was insane, clocking in at 12 times the speed of sound. Even the top-tier martial artists couldn't react fast enough to dodge, thwack. Tian singled out 2 regular martial artists, and with a flash of his blade, their heads were gone. Just like that, they were dead. It all happened in a blink of an eye. By the time Sun Kong and the others snapped back to reality, they were down 2 warriors, leaving only 7 standing. That speed. Sun Kong's face paled. That wasn't just martial artist speed, that was grandmaster level, way faster than anything they could pull off. He's gotta have a high-level speed talent. Sun Kong was seething with envy. It was rare enough for someone to have any special talent. His own Sun family was infamous for their incestuous practice of maintaining their sword talent, and other families were green with envy. But to have 2 special talents, that was a gift from the gods, and to have each one be so powerful was just infuriating. We have to kill him. Sun Kong's mind was made up. He knew that if they didn't take Tian down today, he'd grow into a force that could wipe the Sun family off the map. Kill him. One of the Sun family's martial artists charged at Tian like a kamikaze pilot, thwack. Thwack, another martial artist fell under Tian's blade. They couldn't touch him. The power gap between them was just too wide. So this is the mighty Sun family? A little disappointing. Tian said, after taking down another fighter. These warriors were no threat to him at all. They were too slow, too weak, like infants barely crawling. Sun Ling, now. Sun Kong barked at Sun Ling, the only female martial artist among them. She was another powerhouse in the Sun family, but because she was a woman, she ranked slightly below Sun Kong. Sun Ling charged at Tian, her face set with grim resolve, like she was going to take him down with her. At the same time, Sun Kong and the 2 surviving warriors scrambled for cover, retreating as fast as they could. Die. A twisted expression crossed Sun Ling's wrinkled face. The next moment, her aura surged, and she detonated herself in a massive explosion. The blast was like a grandmaster's full-force attack, obliterating everything within a 100-meter radius. Houses turned to rubble, and even the ground was ripped open, forming a crater. Though Sun Kong and the others had pulled back in time, they still caught the edge of the blast. They coughed up blood, sustaining serious injuries. Even if Tian isn't dead, he's gotta be messed up bad, Sun Kong said, his voice thick with anticipation. At that range, there was no way Tian could have dodged the explosion. Moreover, Sun Ling's suicide attack covered everything. There was no avoiding the damage. A grandmaster could have shrugged it off with their defenses, but Tian wasn't a grandmaster, and his defense couldn't withstand a blast like that. Too bad about Sun Ling, though. Sun Kong thought to himself, but her death was a small price to pay for the Sun family's survival. Meanwhile, the Sun family members who remained erupted in cheers. Tian is finally dead. We're saved. Elder Sun Ling is a hero. She took him down with her. Ha! So much for Tian's genius. He died at our hands anyway. But then, a mocking voice cut through the dust. Celebrating a little too soon, aren't you? Tian stepped out of the dust cloud, his clothes ripped to shreds, but without a scratch on him. No way. How are you okay? Sun Kong stumbled backward, his face ashen. Elder Sun Ling's sacrifice was equivalent to a grandmaster's full power. Without grandmaster-level defense, there was no way to survive that unharmed, but somehow, Tian had. What they didn't know was that Tian wasn't unscathed. His defense was a weakness, and even at 12 times the speed of sound, he was a step too late. He hadn't expected a martial artist to detonate herself with a secret technique. If he had known, he never would have given her the chance, but as it was, he was only a few dozen meters from the blast. His defenses saved him, but his injuries were severe. Luckily, with his healing talent, he was able to stabilize in a few seconds, and at least, there were no outward wounds. Rookie mistake. Tian had to admit, he had underestimated the martial artist. But he wouldn't make that mistake again. Run! Sun Kong screamed, and turned to run, but no matter how fast he wasn't as fast as Tian. With a flash of light, Tian was on him. The next moment, Sun Kong's body hit the ground. In the blink of an eye, Tian had finished Sun Kong. Just as Tian was about to begin the slaughter, a voice boomed from nearby. "Young friend, can you do me a favor? Let the Sun family go." An old man in white robes appeared. "Grandmaster." Tian recognized the man's aura immediately. There was no mistaking the pressure. The Grandmaster closed the distance to 50 meters. Scan. Target, Yao Yi, talent, moderate. Just an average Grandmaster, huh? Tian lost interest. Judging by his talent, this guy was early-stage Grandmaster at best. That put his strength at around 1,000,000 pounds. Maybe 1.5. Even with the Yuan energy boost, it was only around 3 million. Tian's attacks could reach 6 million. As for speed, most Grandmasters were at 10 times the speed of sound. Tian was at 12, putting him in a whole different league. The Grandmaster's advantage was his defense. But if Tian didn't let him get close, that didn't matter. In terms of raw power, this Grandmaster was outmatched. "Why should I do you any favors?" Tian said, his voice even. The old man gave him a long look. "Because I'm a Grandmaster. P.S. This is it, I'm uploading tonight. If you like this story, please subscribe and add this to your shelf, thank you." Chapter 55. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Grandmaster? That's not gonna cut it. Tian wasn't about to give Grandmaster Yao Yi any respect. Whoa. A ripple of shock spread through the crowd. A lot of people had gathered to see what was going down. They couldn't believe Tian's nerve. This was a Grandmaster they were talking about. No matter how tough Tian was, could he really stand up to a Grandmaster? Sect leader Yao, please, you gotta help the Sun family. The last two great martial artists from the Sun family, still breathing, stumbled forward and knelt before Yao Yi, begging for help. "We're begging sect leader Yao to save our family." A swarm of Sun family members dropped to their knees, echoing their pleas. All right, I'll handle this." Yao Yi said dismissively. Truth was, he couldn't care less about what happened to the Sun family. But they were from Iron Tooth Base, and if they got wiped out so soon after arriving at Linhai Base, it would send the wrong message. If he, one of Iron Tooth Base's two Grandmasters, stood by and did nothing, it would look like Iron Tooth was afraid of Linhai, and how could Iron Tooth Base hope to control Linhai Base after that? So, for the sake of Iron Tooth Base's reputation, he had to put Linhai Base in its place. If Tian wanted to destroy the Sun family, Yao Yi wouldn't let it happen. That was why he'd rushed over as soon as he heard the Sun family was in trouble. "Kid, I'm gonna give you one more chance. Apologize to the Sun family, and I'll forget you insulted me." Yao Yi spoke with an arrogance that suggested he was untouchable. As a Grandmaster, he was used to throwing his weight around in Iron Tooth Base. In his mind, everyone else was just an ant, including Sun Kong, who was a great martial artist at his peak. He didn't take him seriously either, thinking the guy was just a bigger ant, and, truth be told, he had a point. If a Grandmaster wanted to kill a great martial artist, there was little the great martial artist could do about it. They'd probably lose their head before they even knew what was happening. For too long, the Grandmasters of Iron Tooth Base had walked around with their noses in the air. Plus, Yao Yi hadn't actually seen Tian in action. Seeing his tattered clothes and disheveled look, he figured this guy couldn't possibly be Grandmaster level. Otherwise, how would the Sun family have beaten him up so bad? These misconceptions led Yao Yi to completely underestimate Tian. "Your name's Yao Yi, right? I'll give you a choice too. Apologize to me, then get out of my face, and I might just let you off. Otherwise, you'll end up like the Sun family. Yi Tian's words sent Yao Yi into a rage and sent another wave of shock through the crowd, threatening a grandmaster. How much nerve did this guy have? The Sun family, on the other hand, were ecstatic. Die! How dare you insult a grandmaster? Once you're gone, we're safe. Many of them were secretly celebrating. Time to die. Yao Yi flicked a finger, and a bolt of energy shot out, moving at 10 times the speed of sound. At that speed, great martial artists wouldn't even have time to react, much less defend themselves. If someone like Sun Kong faced Yao Yi, even if he was stronger, he probably wouldn't be able to block a single finger attack and would be seriously injured or even killed instantly. That was the advantage of being fast. Unfortunately for Yao Yi, he had underestimated Yi Tian. Yi Tian flicked his blade, deflecting Yao Yi's finger strike, then sneered, "You're too slow." "Huh, interesting. You can actually block my attacks. No wonder you were able to crush the Sun family." Yao Yi was a little surprised, but that was it. That finger strike was just a test. He hadn't even started trying yet. Whoosh! Grandmaster Yao Yi finally made his move, his body disappearing in a blur, almost like teleportation. That was just the speed reaching supersonic levels. If you were close enough, it really would look like teleportation, moving at 10 times the speed of sound. Yao Yi was confident he could take down Yi Tian easily. He appeared next to Yi Tian and reached out to grab his neck. But a blade flashed towards him, thwack, star. Yao Yi's hand was severed and dropped to the ground. Crap! Yao Yi's eyes widened. He threw up a Yuan force shield around himself and retreated as fast as he could, but as fast as he was, Yi Tian was faster. In a flash, Yi Tian was on him, another green wind whistling through the air, boom, star. The green wind slammed into Yao Yi's body, shattering his Yuan force shield and sending him flying backwards. His shirt was shredded, and a knife wound over an inch deep was carved across his chest. The sight was horrifying. Grandmaster level speed, grandmaster level attack. Yao Yi recognized Yi Tian's true power and was shocked. Yi Tian's attack and speed surpassed his own. Even if his defense was lacking, it wouldn't matter much. Yi Tian was a genuine grandmaster, no doubt about it. Damn it, the Sun family's insane. They actually provoked a grandmaster. Yao Yi was filled with regret. He shouldn't have stuck his neck out for the Sun family. "Friend, I yield," Yao Yi shouted. "No yielding," Yi Tian growled. Yao Yi turned and ran, with Yi Tian hot on his heels. They quickly left the Sun family compound. Suddenly, Yi Tian's blade sliced off another one of Yao Yi's hands. Desperate, Yao Yi screamed, "Old Manly! Help me!" The Old Manly he was calling for was another grandmaster from Iron Tooth Base, but as soon as the words were out of his mouth, Old Manly appeared, dressed in a grey cloth shirt, which only made Yao Yi feel even more hopeless. "Sect Leader Yi, this has nothing to do with me." Old Manly made his position clear immediately. "Old Manly, you." Yao Yi's face turned purple. Old Manly was stronger than him, and if they worked together, he might have a chance, but now, Old Manly clearly didn't want to get involved, and his chances of survival were zero. "Yi Tian, I'll take you down with me." Yao Yi charged towards Yi Tian, activating an explosive secret technique to boost his strength, but it was all for nothing. Shadow Kill. Yi Tian's combination of 12 times the speed of sound and the Shadow Kill technique turned his blade into an unbelievable blur. Yao Yi, who had just used the secret technique to enhance his strength, was half a step too slow to react and was cut down by Yi Tian's blade. A grandmaster had fallen. In the distance, Old Manly watched, stunned, a flicker of joy deep in his eyes. "Greetings, Sect Leader Yi." Old Manly hurried over, bowing respectfully. "You're not planning on sticking up for the Sun family too, are you?" Yi Tian asked coldly. The Sun family offended Sect Leader Yi. They were asking for it. You don't have to worry about it. Starting today, the Sun family will cease to exist. Old Manly made himself perfectly clear. He would help Yi Tian get rid of the Sun family as a way of showing his loyalty. He was scared. Yi Tian was too strong. He'd killed Yao Yi without even breaking a sweat. He was no match for Yi Tian. He was afraid Yi Tian would kill him, so this was how he chose to show his goodwill. Good. I don't want to see the Sun family again tomorrow. Yi Tian said, and turned to leave. Chapter 56. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After Yi Tian left, Old Man Li headed straight for the Sun residence. Soon, the Sun family's screams echoed through the air. The next day, news that rocked the Linhai base spread like wildfire. The Sun family was wiped out. And the person responsible? None other than Yi Tian, the same Yi Tian who had humiliated Sun Feng in battle. The shock stemmed from the fact that everyone had pegged Yi Tian as a supremely skilled martial artist, maybe even on par with a weaker grand martial artist. No one imagined he was so ridiculously powerful that he could take down the entire Sun family single-handedly. But the real bombshell was the death of Grandmaster Yao Yi, one of the region's two most powerful figures. This news overshadowed even the Sun family's demise. After all, Grandmasters were in a league of their own, far surpassing even the most formidable martial artists. The Linhai base didn't have a single Grandmaster of its own, and the Iron Tooth base only had two. With one now dead, the remaining Grandmaster from the Iron Tooth base was so terrified that he proactively eliminated the remaining members of the Sun family to curry favor. What did this all mean? Yi Tian was practically untouchable in the Linhai base. Many who knew Yi Tian were left speechless by the news. At the Wind Wolf hunting squad, the team leader, Wind Wolf, was stunned into silence. Yi Tian wiped out the Sun family and killed a Grandmaster. Wind Wolf wasn't sure exactly how powerful a Grandmaster was, but he knew the Sun family's reputation. They boasted 10 top-tier martial artists, including 2 powerhouse Grand martial artists. What's more, the Sun family was known for their swordsmanship prowess, often overwhelming opponents of equal or even superior strength. He had been genuinely worried about Yi Tian when he first learned about Sun Feng's background. Now, just a few months later, the Sun family had been destroyed by Yi Tian, and even a Grandmaster had fallen. Yi Tian's strength is growing by leaps and bounds. I can't even hope to reach his level. Wind Wolf lamented. Still, he felt incredibly fortunate just to know Yi Tian. He knew that mentioning their acquaintance would be enough to make others green with envy. At the Lin family, Lin Wanli held the intelligence report in his hands, unable to find the words to speak. He was truly dumbfounded. The Sun family destroyed, Grandmaster Yao Yi killed. Yi Tian's power is unbelievable. I'm betting his cultivation talent is top tier. His strength and speed have already reached the Grandmaster level. He must have a natural gift for both. Lin Wanli surmised. Unlike many others, he was thrilled by Yi Tian's rise because Yi Tian was now a protector of the Linhai base. With Yi Tian on their side, the Linhai base would easily dominate the Iron Tooth base. I'll pay Grandmaster Yi Tian a visit tomorrow. Lin Wanli decided. It wasn't about trying to recruit him. The Lin family wasn't influential enough to win over someone like Yi Tian. But Yi Tian was now the strongest person in the Linhai base, and it would be impolite for the Lin family not to visit. Even forming a casual acquaintance could greatly benefit the Lin family. Many families shared the same sentiment and were eager to befriend Yi Tian, and so, that day, numerous family heads and elders arrived at Yi Tian's residence, bearing lavish gifts. However, Yi Tian had a simple message for the outside world: absolutely not. Furthermore, Yi Tian made it clear that he wished to cultivate in peace and wanted to avoid any interruptions. For many powerful families, this was welcome news. At least Yi Tian wasn't looking to seize power or encroach on their territory. The Sun family was clearly an exception. Had they not provoked Yi Tian, they wouldn't have met such a grim end. Consequently, all the families issued a decree: no one should provoke Yi Tian or Yi Yu. Suddenly, Yi Yu became the most untouchable student in the academy, with no one daring to disturb him. Yi Tian had all the time he needed to focus on his training. Meanwhile, the developer of Central Garden wasted no time in repairing his villa, free of charge. After all, Yi Tian's presence there had brought them immense prosperity. The price of the villas in the area had skyrocketed, bringing in untold riches. The developer certainly wasn't going to skimp on some repair costs. time continued its steady march. Almost a month had passed since the Sun family's downfall, and Tian had finally pushed the refinement of his skin, flesh, bones, and blood to their absolute limits. His foundation was rock solid. Time to refine my internal organs. Tian declared. While elite martial artists temper their blood, grand martial artists temper their internal organs, hardening them to the point of being nearly indestructible. Once the internal organs have been refined to their peak, even ingesting poison would pose no threat. Although the internal organs of elite martial artists are stronger than those of ordinary people, they hadn't yet reached the point of being able to consume poison without consequence. Once he began refining his internal organs, Tian's bottleneck would shatter, and he would automatically ascend to the realm of a grand martial artist, his strength steadily increasing. Let's do this. Tian commenced his exercises using the intermediate Yuan force forging technique, while simultaneously consuming a high-grade fierce beast blood under Tian's direction. The power generated by the refining process flowed towards his 5 vital organs, slowly but surely refining them. Rumble. The shackles holding him back shattered, and his body's power surged. Tian knew that this was the breakthrough to the realm of a grand martial artist. The transition from elite martial artist to grand martial artist was a monumental leap, not only unlocking spiritual power but also dramatically enhancing physical strength, speed, and defense. Previously, Tian's spiritual power only extended a few dozen meters, but now it was rapidly expanding, covering an ever-increasing area. After about half a day, the transformation was complete, and Tian had officially become a grand martial artist. My spiritual power covers a radius of 200 meters. The average grand martial artist in the early stages can only cover about 20 meters. My spiritual power is comparable to someone at the peak of the grand martial artist realm, but it's still probably far from a grandmaster's. Tian estimated. Next, he tested his speed, 20 times the speed of sound. This was Tian's current velocity, significantly faster than before. He also gauged his strength, which had increased, though not by as much, reaching 120,000 Jin. After all, he had just broken through, and his strength would continue to grow with further training. His defense was also several times stronger, but it was still his weakest point, and there was no way to fully compensate for it until he acquired a defense talent. I've almost used up all of the high-grade fierce beast blood. Time for another trip to the little Chiba forest. Tian murmured. Chapter 57. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Leaving this time, Tian wasn't worried about Yu's safety. He was the strongest person in the Linhai base now, and anyone who messed with his sister was asking for a death wish. Leaving the base, Tian headed straight for Little Chiba Forest, arriving soon at the Kojin clan's territory. Master. Xiao Jin saw him and rushed over. Xiao Jin was much bigger and stronger than before. High-level beast. Tian saw instantly that Xiao Jin had leveled up. He wasn't surprised. He jumped from elite martial artist to great martial artist, and Xiao Jin, with his top-tier bloodline talent, had already maxed out the intermediate level. Having reached the high level, Xiao Jin was now strong enough to hunt high-level beasts, but still no match for the top tier. He was still too weak to hurt them. Xiao Jin, how's the beast blood collection coming? Tian asked. Master, come with me. Xiao Jin led Tian to where the blood was stored. So much beast blood. Tian was stunned. Several large pools were full of high-grade blood, and there were even more pools of medium-grade blood, dozens of them. I'd guess there are 10,000 shares of high-level blood and at least 200,000 of intermediate. Tian estimated. The intermediate-level blood was useless to him, but his sister was about to reach the martial arts realm and would soon need it to strengthen her body. Some of it could be sold, and some kept for her. As for the high-level blood, he could certainly use that to cultivate as a great martial artist. It took a huge amount, and this might not be enough to reach the peak, so it wasn't really that much. Not bad at all. Tian praised Xiao Jin. From now on, don't bother collecting intermediate blood. If you find a beast like that, just eat it. As for the high-grade blood, keep collecting as much as you can. I can still use it. Master, I understand. Xiao Jin nodded. After that, Tian shuttled between Little Chiba Forest and the Linhai base, hauling the blood back. Even though there was a lot, Tian was fast. He moved at 20 times the speed of sound, 6,800 meters, or 6.8 kilometers, per second. His actual running speed wasn't quite that fast, because of obstacles in the way, but at that speed, you'd crash into everything. The speed of sound was only truly achievable in combat over short distances. Still, it only took seconds to travel at Tian's speed. He moved the blood to the Linhai base quickly and built a secret underground room under the villa to store it. With that done, Tian gave Xiao Jin another task. Find a beast with super defense. That was one of his weaknesses, and he wanted to fix it. Tian's copying talent was ready to go, but he hadn't seen a good talent yet, so he copied Xiao Jin's endurance talent. His talents now looked like this: human, Tian, cultivation talent, top, speed talent, top, knife talent, medium, shadow talent, elementary, healing talent, top, strength talent, high, endurance talent, medium. The endurance talent would let him fight longer, making him almost immune to being surrounded. His stamina would let him maintain peak combat strength for a long time. Tian returned to the Linhai base and began a long retreat, visiting Little Chiba Forest occasionally. Another month passed. As a new great martial artist, Tian's strength improved rapidly. After consuming a large amount of high-level blood, his physical strength increased to 150,000 caddies, about the same as most early-stage great martial artists. Then one day, Tian came to Little Chiba Forest again. Xiao Jin saw him and said excitedly, "Master, I found a beast with super defensive power." "Really?" Tian asked, happy. "I sent a lot of my people to look for well-defended beasts. We found a big snake covered in scales a few days ago, a high-level beast. I went to check it out myself, but my attacks didn't hurt it. I'm much faster than it is, though, so it couldn't hurt me." Xiao Jin said quickly. A high-level beast that even Xiao Jin couldn't hurt. Tian was sure it had super defense, a defensive talent. "Where? Take me there." Tian urged. Xiao Jin put Tian on his back and moved quickly through the forest. With all the trees, he couldn't run very fast, and after about 10 minutes, they were deep in the forest. Finally, they came to a waterhole. "Master, this is it," Xiao Jin said, looking at the waterhole. It was bottomless, and it was hard to see anything inside, but as Tian approached, he felt a fierce presence. Whoosh! A giant snake emerged from the water, its upper body exposed. It was pitch black with scales that shone like jewels. "It's at least 30 meters long," Tian said. He checked the giant snake's talent: species, black-scaled python, bloodline talent, high, defense talent, medium defense talent. "Not great, but enough to make up for my weakness. I can copy and upgrade it later when I find a higher defense talent." Tian copied the black-scaled python's medium defense talent. Chapter 58. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Hiss. The black-scaled python roared at Jin, instantly recognizing him. It was Xiao Jin who'd messed with it a few days back, giving it a serious beatdown. It had been holding a grudge ever since, so, spotting Xiao Jin again, it couldn't resist attacking. Tian glanced at the python's massive form, a smile spreading across his face. "That's enough to get hundreds of top-tier beast blood samples, and that snakeskin would make some killer defensive gear." "Sorry, buddy." In a flash, Tian moved, hitting 20 times the speed of sound, his strength talent kicking in. Thwack. Thwack, star. Tian's knife came down on the python's weak point, a spot a few inches below the head. The seemingly indestructible scales were no match for him, crushed easily. Tian's attack power was on another level compared to Xiao Jin. He was hitting at Grandmaster level, and the black-scaled python's defense, while impressive, was only at the same level. Even Grandmaster Yao Yi couldn't withstand his attacks, so this python didn't stand a chance. In less than a second, Tian had struck the same spot countless times. The python's weak spot was now a gaping hole, its heart completely pierced. Its life force was draining away. Crash. The black-scaled python hit the ground with a thud, its body collapsing. Xiao Jin's eyes widened, staring at its master, Yi Tian, in disbelief. It clearly remembered that while its master was stronger before, it was by a small margin. Nothing like this. Just in a short time, Yi Tian had effortlessly taken down the black-scaled python, which Xiao Jin couldn't even handle. "That's my master." Xiao Jin thought proudly to himself. After killing the python, Yi Tian quickly collected its heart blood. The heart blood was the purest essence of a beast, packed with energy. Once he had the heart blood, Yi Tian collected dozens of samples of high-grade beast blood, making sure it wouldn't leak as Xiao Jin dragged the python's body back. It took a while to get the python's corpse back to Xiao Jin's place, and then the remaining high-grade beast blood was poured into the blood pool. "Xiao Jin, you can eat the python's body, but save the skin," Yi Tian instructed. "Got it." Xiao Jin replied. It wasn't planning on eating the snakeskin anyway, it was too tough to chew. Even if Yi Tian hadn't said anything, it would have skipped the skin. While Xiao Jin feasted on the python meat, Yi Tian began to merge with the medium defense talent. Merge. Yi Tian focused his thoughts. Soon, his body began to heat up. Sweat trickled down, and his skin began to tingle, turning red. This was the transformation process of the defensive talent. 10 minutes later, the defense talent fusion was complete. As soon as he thought about it, his talent stats appeared in his vision. Human, Yi Tian, cultivation talent, top tier, speed talent, top tier, knife talent, mid-tier, shadow talent, basic, healing talent, top tier, strength talent, high tier, endurance talent, mid-tier, defense talent, mid-tier. Besides my cultivation talent, I've got 7 other special talents. I might be the only one like this in the world. Yi Tian said proudly. Time to test this medium defense talent. Yi Tian grabbed his medium yuan force knife and lightly slashed his left arm. Clang. The knife bounced off. He hadn't used much force, maybe tens of thousands of pounds, so it wasn't surprising he didn't break the skin. Yi Tian increased his strength to 150,000 pounds, but still couldn't break through. Strength talent, activate. Yi Tian activated his strength talent, and his power increased tenfold. Next, he tested with 200,000 pounds of force, but still no luck. He kept upping the pressure. It wasn't until he hit 250,000 pounds that his skin finally broke, but that was just using raw skin to resist. A warrior's real defense came from their yuan force shield, and its strength was directly related to the body's defense. Yuan force shield. A faint layer of yuan force covered his skin, and Yi Tian slashed again. This time, it took 1.5 million pounds of force to finally break through. 1.5 million pounds. My body's defense can withstand that much force, and most great martial artists can't even touch me. And that's just the start. Once my cultivation reaches the peak, even a peak-level great martial artist couldn't break my defense even if I stood there and let them hit me. Yi Tian was very happy with his new defense. Combined with his top-tier healing talent, his survivability had just gotten a major upgrade. For the next month, Yi Tian spent most of his time in the Little Chiba forest, only heading back to the Linhai base occasionally. During this time, Yi Tian trained like crazy. He and Xiao Jin teamed up, killing dozens of high-level beasts and stockpiling a ton of high-grade beast blood. With all this crazy training, both Yi Tian and Xiao Jin were getting stronger by the day. Finally, Yi Tian's physical strength reached 200,000 pounds. Xiao Jin's strength was about at the peak of an early-stage high-level beast, and its speed had jumped a level, nearly hitting 25 times the speed of sound. Yi Tian's speed reached 23 times the speed of sound. However, all this action had reduced the number of high-level beasts in the area, attracting the attention of the top predators from the depths of the Little Chiba forest. Rumble. A 50-meter-tall white ape lumbered out of the forest's depths, surveying the area around Xiao Jin's place. This was its territory. Those high-level beasts were like its henchmen, and they had to offer it blood regularly to get its protection. But lately, the offerings had been thin. It was pissed, so it came to deal with those beasts itself. But when it got there, it was shocked. All those high-level beasts were gone. Did they run? The ape wondered. Thump. Thump, the ape stomped forward, knocking giant trees to the ground. Suddenly, it sensed the presence of a high-level beast, it charged in that direction, and that beast was none other than Xiao Jin. Chapter 59. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Xiao Jin was happily hunting for powerful beasts in the forest, but unfortunately, they were getting scarce, making it tough to find any decent ones. It didn't dare venture too far out. Something told it that was a bad idea. Even as a fierce beast, it understood the strict hierarchy of Little Chiba Forest. Each area had its top predator, and as a mid-level beast, it had its own territory. It remembered when it was just an intermediate beast, and several high-level beasts tried to take over its pack, but it fought them off. That's how it, a mid-level beast, managed to carve out a small area and become a mini-lord, but that was then. Now, it could easily take down a high-level beast, making it practically unbeatable in its zone. Still, that was just this zone. Deeper in, it wouldn't risk it. That's where the real monsters lived. If it ran into one, it'd be toast. A stronger one? Forget about escaping, so, it behaved itself, staying put. Finding a high-level beast to fight was just a bonus, no big deal if it couldn't. Besides, its master wasn't in a rush. They'd be leaving soon, and it was coming with. Suddenly, a terrifying aura washed over it, making it tremble. Top beast. Xiao Jin had never seen one, but the aura screamed top-tier predator. Whoosh! Xiao Jin bolted toward its master. It had to warn him to get out of Little Chiba Forest. Far off in the distance, a white giant ape fixed its gaze on Xiao Jin, as if piercing through space. It didn't know Xiao Jin, but anything showing up in its territory either submitted or became lunch. Whoosh! The white giant ape moved, its massive body paying no mind to the trees, covering thousands of meters in a single bound. It was only a little slower than Xiao Jin, but its size and leaping power allowed it to clear whole sections of forest, ignoring the obstacles. It was an incredible speed, but Xiao Jin had to dodge trees constantly, slowing it down. Soon, the white giant ape was gaining on it. Looking at the mountain of muscle and feeling the terrifying aura, Xiao Jin trembled. Then, it sensed its master's presence. He was close. Master, help me. Xiao Jin used telepathy to call to Tian. It was a special link between pet and owner, but only worked at close range. Tian, of course, had also sensed the white giant ape. The terrifying aura was impossible to miss, blanketing the entire area. Xiao Jin, Tian was frantic. He heard Xiao Jin's plea. Against a top-level beast, Xiao Jin didn't stand a chance. Faster. 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 Tian weaved through the trees, closing the distance. Then he saw it, the white giant ape's massive hand, like the sky itself, reaching for Xiao Jin under that paw. Poor Xiao Jin looked helpless. That's no ordinary top-level beast. Tian's eyes narrowed. The power was immense. It was probably a mid to even upper-level top predator. Tian could probably handle a weaker top-level beast, but this white giant ape was a whole different ball game. Still, he charged in. Xiao Jin was his first pet, had helped him so much. He couldn't just let it die. What kind of master would he be? Besides, the ape wasn't strong enough to make him give up completely. Time to act. Tian went all in. Speed talent, activate. Strength talent, activate. Defense talent, activate. With every talent activated, Tian unleashed his bronze-level sword skill, Gale Slash. It was his best shot, infused with the dichotomy intent he'd been working on for months. The sword intent amplified the strike, making it crackle with energy, as if it could slice through reality. The brilliant cyan blade transformed into a weapon of pure destruction, aimed at the giant ape's palm. Bang! The cyan blade struck the palm, managing to cut off a few white hairs and leave a scratch. But that was it. It didn't even break the skin. Xiao Jin, run! Tian yelled. Xiao Jin understood instantly, turning on the jets and running for its life. With Tian right behind it, the white giant ape roared in fury. A measly little bug had heard it. An outrage. Boom! The white giant ape swung a punch. The forest shook, trees turned to dust, and Yi Tian felt an overwhelming force slamming into him. He slashed back with everything he had, boom. The force sent Yi Tian flying. His Yuan force shield shattered, and his body cracked and bruised, but thanks to his top-level healing talent, the injuries healed almost instantly. That's gotta be at least 30 million caddies of force, Yi Tian figured. His base strength was 200,000 caddies, boosted to 2 million by his strength talent. Then, with Gale / multiplied by 6, he reached 12 million caddies. Adding in Yuan force brought it to 24 million. The fact that the ape could shrug that off and hurt him meant it packed at least 30 million caddies of punch. Analyze. In an instant, Yi Tian figured out the ape's talents: species, Titan ape, bloodline talent, top tier, strength talent, basic. Holy crap, top tier bloodline and a strength talent. This ape hasn't reached its full potential yet. Otherwise, one hit would turn me into paste, even with the healing talent, Yi Tian thought. Time to bail. He was outmatched. He'd planned to stay in Little Chiba Forest a bit longer, but not anymore. Luckily, the ape wasn't that fast. He and Xiao Jin still had a chance. Rumble. The Titan ape punched again, but still couldn't finish Yi Tian off, just injuring him. Yi Tian healed, just like a cockroach that wouldn't die. Attack after attack, Yi Tian managed to survive. Gradually, Yi Tian and Xiao Jin ran towards the edge of Little Chiba Forest. Whoosh! A flash of light, and Yi Tian and Xiao Jin were out. They were in the open, a vast landscape stretching before them. Chapter 60. You are listening at novelfull.audio. When they reached the edge of Little Chiba Forest, Yi Tian and Xiao Jin could finally open up. The terrain was clear, so they wouldn't run into anything at top speed. It felt like being back in the real world after being trapped in that little forest. Yi Tian hopped on Xiao Jin's back, and the leopard, bursting with energy, kicked it into high gear, Mach 25. They shot across the ground like a blur. Back in the forest, the Titan ape lumbered out, realized it couldn't keep up with Xiao Jin, pounded its chest in frustration, and reluctantly turned back. Seeing the ape give up the chase, Yi Tian told Xiao Jin to stop. They were now hundreds of miles from the coastal base. Yi Tian didn't want to risk heading towards the base, plus, it was still too close to Little Chiba Forest. If that Titan ape decided to pay a visit, it would be a disaster for everyone, so, for the base's safety, he had Xiao Jin run in the opposite direction, putting some distance between them. After about half an hour of searching, Yi Tian and Xiao Jin finally found their way back to the base. Of course, he'd never admit he almost got lost. Back at the coastal base, Yi Tian's return on Xiao Jin once again stunned everyone. Subduing a beast was something most people only dreamed of. Most beasts weren't smart enough to understand the concept of surrender. For a beast, it was kill or be killed. Countless warriors had tried to tame even mid-level beasts, only to fail, and here was Yi Tian, having tamed a high-level beast like the golden silk dragon leopard. If they knew about Xiao Jin's top-tier speed, they'd be green with envy. A beast like that was invaluable. If beast pets were tradable, someone would pay a fortune for Xiao Jin. At home, Yi Yu, seeing Xiao Jin's 10-meter frame, was understandably intimidated. The leopard's aura was just too much for a newly minted martial artist to handle. Xiao Jin, tone it down. Yi Tian patted Xiao Jin's head. Master. Xiao Jin whined and wagged its tail, then obediently suppressed its aura. If it weren't for its size, it would look like a giant kitten. Sis, this is Xiao Jin, the beast pet I tamed. Get to know each other. Don't worry, Xiao Jin won't hurt you. Yi Tian introduced Xiao Jin to his sister. With his encouragement, Yi Yu finally greeted Xiao Jin. Hi, Xiao Jin. My name is Yi Yu. Xiao Jin nudged its head against Yi Yu's, showing its friendliness. It knew that this little dot was its master's sister, someone it would be responsible for protecting in the future. That's right, Yi Tian had already told Xiao Jin that, when he wasn't around, it was Xiao Jin's job to keep Yi Yu safe. Not wanting to disobey its master, Xiao Jin decided to get on Yi Yu's good side right away. Later that day, at the martial pavilion, Yi Tian, as the top dog of the base, was Meeting with the pavilion master to discuss something. The pavilion master was a mysterious figure that few people had ever seen. If it weren't for Yi Tian's reputation, the pavilion master wouldn't have agreed to see him. Yi Tian had expected an old guy, but the pavilion master was only in his 30s, clearly a prodigious talent. Name, Yichong, cultivation talent, high, swordsmanship talent, medium, strength talent, elementary. High-level cultivation talent wasn't that rare. Even medium-sized bases like Iron Tooth had plenty of them. Yichong, being the martial pavilion master for the Linhai base, came from a larger base, so a high-level talent was just average. However, the medium swordsmanship talent combined with the elementary strength talent was pretty impressive. The combination indicated that Yichong was even stronger than Sun Kong and his relatives. Pavilion Master, Yi Tian said politely. Yichong quickly replied, I'm just a sub-pavilion master here. Sect Master Yi, you're too kind. What can I do for you? Yi Tian didn't argue with the title of Grand Master. He deserved it. Pavilion Master you're from a big base. I'd like to know how to get there. Yi Tian asked point blank. Yichong smiled knowingly. He wasn't surprised by the question. Yi Tian was already invincible in the Linhai base at such a young age. A genius like that wouldn't be satisfied with staying in a backwater forever. He'd naturally want to move on to bigger and better things. Yichong didn't hold back. I'm from Demon Sea Base, 3,000 kilometers away. It's not too far for a grandmaster, but the road is treacherous. You could even run into a top-level beast if you're unlucky. That's why the big bases send people to the Linhai base every year or so. There are only two actual large base branches in the Linhai base, our Martial Pavilion branch and the Linhai Base Bank. That bank is affiliated with Mohai Bank. Mohai Bank rarely sends people, but the Martial Pavilion's annual trip is a constant. So, you're saying that the only way to get to a big base is to tag along with the Martial Pavilion's people when they come? Yichong smiled and asked, you can't go alone. Sect Master Yi doesn't know about the big base, right? I don't, Yi Tian admitted. Yichong explained, over a century ago, the earth was small, and cities were close. But when the apocalypse happened, the beasts came through spatial rifts, and the earth not only generated vitality, but also grew exponentially, maybe hundreds of times larger. No one knows for sure. Humanity shrunk at first, but over the last century, the large bases have claimed vast territories, advocating for more births. So, each base has a huge population, advanced technology, and tons of talent. Do you know how many people live in the Demon Sea base? 1 million, Yi Tian guessed. Yichong said seriously, 10 million. What? Yi Tian was genuinely shocked. This was the apocalypse. And a base had 10 million people. That was on par with the top-tier cities from his old life. With 10 million people, the power they wield is immense. Demon Sea Base is basically a metropolis from a century ago, rebuilt by countless people. Scientists have even replaced electricity with Yuanli, creating Yuanli air conditioners, cars, elevators, etc. The entire Demon Sea Base is covered by a massive Yuanli formation, making it impossible for beasts to attack. Entering the base requires identity verification. Every person in the Linhai base has a Yuanli ID card, which is the only way to freely enter and exit the Demon Sea base. Yuanli ID card. Yi Tian finally understood why he couldn't just stroll into the Demon Sea base. He couldn't get in. Only the martial artists traveling with the Martial Pavilion could. Pavilion Master when will the Martial Pavilion's people be coming? Yi Tian asked the question that mattered most. The next trip is in a month, Yichong replied.